Well, we're back. This weekend did not go according to plan. So, I really don't like the word downswing and variance and all that because I think it's excuses. Like, every time I hear someone say they're in a downswing, and I'm live at a table, it's someone who's particularly not playing good, and I don't think is very good. So, I really don't like that word. I don't like to say that I'm on one, but I did get some pretty slim odds go against me consistently this weekend. Like, for instance, so middle position player raises to 20, late position player calls. I'm in the small blind. I have pocket queens. I make it 80. Both players call. Flop is 8-9 deuce, all offsuit. Pretty good flop for queens. But I'm in the small blind and I actually think it through. The player who'd be last to act in late position has about 150 behind. And he's very aggressive, and he's actually in a downswing. He's in a second or third buy-in, so he's not doing too good. So I just know that if I check, he's going to shove with his stack of like 150. So I check, middle position player checks, late position player shoves all in for 150. I actually raised to 400 to isolate him because the middle position player is actually very, very bad. He's been binking people all day, and I see him calling with like anything, like king queen. Like, he's just, either way, I'm ready to put the money in with both of them because I know I should be good here. So I make it 400, and the middle position player thinks for a while, and I'm just like, what are you thinking about, man? Like, either call or fold. Like he went all in for 150, I raised to 400, and you checked. Like, now you're thinking about calling? I mean, I guess when it's 8-9, you could have 10 jack, but even then, I'm blocking the queen for your outs. I don't know. Either way, as soon as he folds, I just flip over my cards and they're queens, and the late position player literally drops an F-bomb, just knows that he's dead. And the turn's a 6, and then he shows pocket sixes. Ugh. Yep, so get a 2-outer there for at least a $300, $400, maybe $500 pot. Not fun. Another hand, the player who I was talking about, he's the opponent in this hand. I make it 25 with king queen. Flop is king 8-6. Pretty good, all offsuit. I bet 40. He calls. Turn is a 3. I bet 90. And he does the whole nonsense of counting out 90 and then just grabbing a stack and shoving it in there. And, like, I only had, like, 170 total. Like, so when I bet 90, I only have 80 behind. So even if I'm beat here, I really can't fold. And if you have 8s or 9s, good hand. So I call, and he has king 3. He called with king 3 offsuit. I mean, I guess calling a bet when you hit your king, I mean, why play king 3 offsuit if you're not going to call a bet when you hit a pair? So, can't really fault him for that. But nonetheless, it is irritating. And a final hand that kind of, gives the trifecta is I have ace-9 of diamonds in a limped pot. And like I've said before, I usually limp with suited aces because when you flop flush draws, you just want to flush over flush someone. So I limp for 5. Flop is 4-5-9, 4-5 of diamonds. So top pair plus flush draw. Someone, it was a 7-way limped pot. So there's 35 bucks in there. Middle position player makes it 15. There's one caller. I make it 65, top pair plus flush draw. Pretty happy with. One of the players calls, And then the player who raised to 15 goes all in for like 290. Now, when he does this, like, I mean, he could have a set. He could have two pair. There's a lot of I think about it a lot, but because he bets so small, like, it kind of made me think that sets and two pairs weren't really viable there, because in a 7-way limped pot, you have to assume someone has a flush draw. Like, there's 7 people in there. Someone has 2 diamonds. That, just reality. So that's why when you bet 15 to enter into 7 people, I assume you have to have something like 6, 7 of diamonds, or like 3, 4 of or 3, 6 of diamonds. Something that straight flush draw, maybe 7, 8 of diamonds straight plus flush draw, gutter, not fully, 4-card straight flush. But that's just what I assume. I assume you're trying to build a pot because you have great odds or great equity, and then I raise, I have something good, and you're ready to just get it in. But even so, like, even if I'm, against a set or 2 pair, I have great odds. I have top pair plus nut flush draw. If I was just going for a flush, like, this is still a fine call, but I have top pair as well. So I call, and the later position player that called, he folds, and the guy who shoved all in showed 4-5, which, I'm really fine with, because, a diamond hits, I win, 9 hits, I win, ace hits, I win. No matter what the turn is, if that pairs, I win. So, it came a 7, so if it was running 7s, I'd have 9s and 7s, and I'd win. But couldn't hit a, 13, 15 outer, 3 aces, 2 and a half, 5, 9, 14 outer on the turn, 17 outer on the river. But I get 2 outed and 3 outed like it's their job when the pots are big. And the thing that sucks is that this is across like 7 or 8 hours. Like, normally you play like maybe $30, $40 pots, but the ones that get to like few $100 all went the other way today. Just the queens upset me because I really set him up. Like, I checked planning on him shoving with nonsense, calling, and just winning, and didn't happen. So I suppose this just has to remind you, be process oriented. Like, I did what I wanted, and the result just didn't turn out good. So, I mean, we're just going to keep on trekking. Be process oriented, not results oriented, because if you're results oriented, that's going to, you're going to hit those down swings sometimes, and they're not fun. They're pretty bad. But I'm still profitable for the month. We'll just keep on going. Just want to document these hands so I can remember them. The bad beats happen to everyone. The 2 outers, 3 outers. Can't hit your monster draw. Just sometimes you have a bad day. But it's not going to tear us down. We'll be back. Alright, so it's the next day, and we went to the card room again, and things actually went much better than yesterday. Everything was pretty standard. I just have one relatively big and notable hand to report. So, right after I lose a relatively big hand, I pick up pocket kings. And when that happens, I choose to, when it's folded to me, I open to 40. Now, I do this for a few reasons. Well, maybe just one reason. Well, the reason is, right after you lose a big hand, and you open so big, everyone just believes you're tilting. So they call relatively light, and you can build a big pot because you just lost with a big hand. I think I had pocket queens and I lost. The very next hand I pick up kings. Even more unlikely that I have a big hand the very next hand after I lose a relatively big pot with a strong hand. So I open a 40. I get 2 callers, and the flop is like a dream. It is king, jack, jack. So flop a full house, top end of it. Now, when the flop is king, jack, jack, and you have pocket kings, there's two things you can do. One, you can continue to tell the story that you're tilting, you're just going to bet big with, an ace or something and get called. Or two, you can check and induce someone else to bet because, they can bluff you off because you're bluffing. You bet big on pre-flop, you miss the flop, now you'll just fold to a bet. So there's two lines you can really take there that are both pretty viable. Now I choose the second one for two reasons. One, because it's king, jack, jack, I believe there's plenty of jacks out there that, we're going to get the money in anyway, so I might as well let them lead. And two, I don't want to make, if I bet, I either have to bet big or really small to keep them in the hand. If I bet big, they might just fold. They just know I'm going to go hard no matter what and let me bluff them off when I do have bluffs, even though I don't have a bluff here. And if I bet small, they might even fold as easy as pocket sixes, where pocket sixes might, lead out here on the flop. But either way, I choose to check, and it checks through. Another reason I chose to check was because the high hand promotion was $1,500 for this hour, so a fourth king would have given me, a $1,500 bonus if it hits. So you don't want to bet small, everyone folds, and you win, $80, but you could have gotten $1,500 if you checked it down. And it's tough for anyone to have a big hand, and I have all the kings. Either way, so I check. The turn is a... So I check, and with two people in there, I just can't believe it would check through a second time. Lo and behold, the guy to my left doesn't let me down, but he only bets $15, which is very, very small. Especially considering the size of the pot, 1/10 pot. The guy to his left call, and now I decide that it's time to tell the story that I'm tilting and make a big raise. So I raise it to 75, hoping to just get another, 150, 200 bucks on the river. But the guy who bet 15 actually raises me to 225. The other guy calls all in for 130. And now it's decision time, kind of. My only real thought here is that he could have pocket jacks. And then I just decide, because, like I said, I've had some, 2-outers, 3-outers. So you always go to the negative once you make your big hand too, which is bad. Either way, I made it. If you have jacks, you win. Otherwise, king, jack, jack 10, jack, queen, I get it all. And so I shove all in, and he snap calls, which does not make me feel too good. I really do think he has pocket jacks. And I show, and he only has ace jack. So that was pretty good because the fourth jack did not come. It was an 8. And we actually stacked two people. We covered him by a little bit in the 6th seat directly to my left. And, we stacked the guy in the 8th seat, which is now gone in this picture. So, poker's a roller coaster. Some go with you, some go against you, and that one was definitely with me. So, I would actually appreciate any comments of how I played any of these 4 hands in this video, and advice, thoughts, lines they would take, because that's how I get better. It's how, the discussion with actual players, not professionals, I think is how everyone gets better. So, thanks guys. There will be more next week.